Well, Mr. Casey, Shaun Casey probably needs no introduction, but I really want to appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to spend a half hour with us here. This is called the Craic in the Bat, and we've always had some crack, and you know your way around the bat, and it's something for the members of the Irish American Baseball Hall of Fame, Irish American Baseball Society. And thanks for doing this. And also, thank you for not wearing one of those flashy suits. I was really concerned about the fact that you show up and, I'm here in Florida. It's, it's hot as balls. I'm going to show up in my, my golf shirt, and you're going to show up in that like 3-piece suit.
No, it's only like when I get fancy every once in a while, Shaun. You know me.
Listen,
you know me too well.
Some of those suits are looking pretty snazzy. So listen, before we get started, I came across this picture that you gave me a long time ago.
Yes.
The question is, can you still pick him up like that?
Yeah, he's 6'5", almost 200 pounds now. So no, I can't. That's my son Andrew, and that's like my favorite card ever. That's a 2002 Fleer, and it was just such a cool card. I remember they sent me the picture, and then Fleer had called me to ask if they could. It was one of the first cards they had done like that. If they could publish the card with him, I said, yeah, that'd be great. So, my son's playing, baseball in college. I always say, hey, if you make the big leagues, your rookie card's really your 2002 Fleer, But
funny you mentioned 2002, because I always like to say, well, okay, people say to me, well, how did you meet these guys? How did you meet this guy? So my introduction, let me tell you about my introduction to Shaun Casey. It was 2002, which would have been the last year at the old ballpark. They had a fancy name on that one year. Was it Synergy Park?
Synergy Field. Yeah.
So it was the first year. My son Ryan was 7, and he come out. It was his first time that he was here from Ireland on his own. And I said to him, I said, Ryan, what do you want to do? He said, Daddy, it would be so cool if I could go on the road with the Yankees. And I was like, oh shit! I'm like, am I gonna So I looked at the schedule. The Yankees were playing 3 in Cleveland and 3 in Tampa. So Southwest, not as many people knew about it then as now. So I was able to finagle some flights, and through a scout buddy of mine, Tom Giordano, I got a hotel in Cleveland. So we flew in and we had an off day. And I said to Ryan, what do you want to do? Study, can we anywhere we can go and see baseball? Well, we made that trek from Cleveland to Cincinnati. And you guys are playing the Pirates. And now I gotta remember, he's 7. He's probably been to maybe 20 games, but he left that stadium the biggest Shaun Casey fan.
Really?
Before we left, we had the Shaun Casey figurine, we had the Shaun Casey bobblehead, we had the Shaun Casey plush toy, we had the Shaun Casey bat. So he went home with this stuff, and he's home like a week, and I'm talking to his mom, and she says, I gotta ask you a question. She says, who the hell is Shaun Casey? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, Ryan has a shrine in his room. Shaun Casey. Now, he didn't meet you.
Yeah.
But it was just from, he's like, Daddy, look at that first baseman. He talks to everybody. And I mean, obviously we're in Cincinnati, so there's a lot of the guys are wearing Casey stuff and that. But that's that was one of the cool things, was basically his hero, his idol, was somebody I wanted him to have as his idol. And then the coolest thing was, fast forward 10 years, and you're playing wiffle ball with him in Studio 42.
That's so great.
He still has all of this, and it's funny because I mean he's 26 years old now, but still a huge Shaun Casey fan. And
that's so great.
Network, he watches the network on he's got some illegal streaming. And every now and then he'll send me a screenshot and he said, Dad, can you ask Casey, what is he wearing? He's on TV. I said, I've got the perfect face for radio.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
That's how it came to, and that was the cool thing about, like Shaun Casey. I mean, you know what? I mean, we probably could find somebody that doesn't like you.
They're out there.
It could take a while. I mean, you've won every good guy. I mean, the only thing you haven't won is the Nobel Peace Prize. But I mean, if you spend much more time in that studio with some of those guys, there's a fair chance that could happen.
Hey, Shawnee, do you think also too your son was like obviously he liked the Casey name. You know what I mean? It was. I mean, is that a big part?
Yeah, I think that might have something to do with it because the funny thing was he would actually long before the Irish American Baseball Hall of Fame was even a thing. He would look down through the lineup and he'd be looking at the names and he'd say, "Oh, Daddy, is he Irish?" And I was like, "Oh, Roberto Kelly. I'm not sure if he's Irish." I said, you know. Well, I used to have one of those teams of guys who had Irish names who weren't Irish, and Roberto Kelly was on that list. But now, you're a big music guy.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how much you know about like Irish traditional music, but there's a guy called Christy Moore, and he's got a song called Casey Casey.
No, I
You
didn't know
should
that.
listen to some. It's actually pretty cool. It probably would suit you, but you have to know a little bit about the background to it. It was about a cardinal in Ireland who had a lead foot, and it's basically the sheepdogs of Ireland were scared of him because he sped everywhere on those tiny country roads. But sometimes we get a chance to listen to it, and it's
Who's the artist there, Shawnee?
Christy Moore.
I'll check that out. I like this.
It's not. I mean, it's not. I mean. It's not up there with it's not something Eddie Vedder might record.
Dire Straits.
Your buddy Eddie Vedder. I mean, that's how's that going?
Good. It's going good, man. Ed's doing well. I think they're itching to get back out there at some point, but they're just kind of like, they're dragging their feet a little bit until things get really opened up. And I think that you'll see Pearl Jam back out there at some point soon, but he's enjoying himself. It was in Hawaii a little bit surfing, so it's good, man. It's great, wonderful people.
So when you say itching to get back out there, so obviously, I mean, you guys did pretty much. I mean, you worked. It was a weird setup last year, but did you take up any unusual hobbies or anything that did you have a COVID?
I'd say like my youngest daughter, she's 11, Jillian, so she takes up a lot of she bakes a lot. So I'd say as a dad, I took up baking. I feel like every day she's like, "Dad, you want to bake cookies? Dad, you want to bake a 3-layer cake? Dad, you want to bake?" Like we were baking legit stuff, like cupcakes with like filling in it, like
Wow.
like next level stuff. I'm like, Jillian, this is unbelievable. She watches that kids baking championship every day, and next thing you know, I'm her assistant. I'm like, how much flour? I'm pouring things in the thing. How much flour? How much vanilla we need? All that stuff. So
That's a lot of extra time to spend on the Peloton.
yes, and I was on the Peloton. I did a lot on the Peloton.
That's pretty cool. So listen, I was looking through, I was doing my research last night. So born in New Jersey. I mean, but right. I mean, you were very young when you moved to Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, I was 5 when we moved to
Yeah,
Pittsburgh.
so you can't really claim New Jersey. Speaking of Pittsburgh, what's with these Penguins?
Oh, well, you had the Penguin Bar, right? It wasn't.
I had the Penguin Bar, and I didn't realize how bad it was. So someone told me that their record in their last 16 playoff games is like 3-13 or something. It's just
Yeah, they've been scuffling. Yeah, I know. They couldn't. I'll tell you what. I personally loved Fleury, and when we got rid of him to not saying Murray's not a bad goalie, but when we got rid of Fleury and now he's the best goalie in hockey. I mean, I think that definitely has definitely impacted our team as a whole. But
are they going to change coaches?
I don't know if they're going to change coaches or not, but
you got to figure out what are you going to do. I mean, do you change coaches or do you, I mean, Crosby's still Crosby, but I mean, what is he? He's in his 30s now.
Yeah, but he's still one of the best. He's still one of the best.
Oh no, I'm just saying. I mean, can you build around them, or do you need to break it down and start?
Yeah.
I know. I listen to sports talk. I mean, obviously, I'm in Florida, but I listen to sports talk radio in New York, and they're. I mean, the hockey fans, the Ranger fans in New York are hoping that the Penguins let him go because he'll be the next coach of the Rangers.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I can't imagine Sid ever being anywhere else but in Pittsburgh. But the Pittsburgh fans expect a lot, I think sometimes you get spoiled too when you have You know, you had Lemieux, you had Crosby, you had Yager. We've had some unbelievable hockey talent come through Pittsburgh. So Sid's an icon in that city.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and you know what? Well deserved. And I'll say another thing. I mean, for a guy, I mean, he has that like, he has that like young kid look about him. He's like, but I wouldn't want to fuck with him. I mean, those guys. Saskatchewan or wherever it is he's from. I'm like, I ain't fucking with him.
He fights back. Sid fights back. Sid's not afraid to throw back.
He might be a pretty boy, but yeah, he fights back. That would be all the hockey talk we have. That's about as much hockey as I know. But I was looking at some pictures last night, and I saw a couple of pictures of you with some Penguin stuff in the back.
Well, Shawnee, here's a quick hockey talk. Mike Rupp and Max Talbot are buddies of mine back, and we went on a trip to Haiti years ago together. And when we got back, Sid was, Sid Crosby loves baseball. So we set up this thing. We're like, hey, I was like, do you guys want to come and take some batting practice on the field at PNC Park? So we did. It was like Mike Rupp, Matt Cook, Sidney Crosby, Talbot. There was probably I can't remember the other guys. There was probably 7 guys, Paul Martin. But man, I was running the show, right? So I'd be like, all right, 10 swings and you're out, 10 swings, you're out, 10 swings, you're out. Then Sid gets in there. He's like, he wasn't leaving until he went deep, right? And he's got a really good swing. Like, he's a big baseball fan.
Right.
Sid's got a great swing, barrels up the baseball, but he stayed in there. I think he took 55 swings and finally hit one out. I was like, all right, Sid, time to get the next guy in there. But I was like, I'm not telling Sid Crosby he's to come out of the turtle.
But I mean, you see, that's the cool thing, and I always thought that was a great concept for a show, was to take guys who who are known for one thing and have them talk about something else. Like Tommy Glavine is a huge hockey guy.
Yeah,
and
he was a great hockey player in college.
Yeah, I mean, Gretzky. I mean, Gretzky as a kid, all he wanted to do was pitch for the Tigers.
Well, one of the coolest things, Wayne Gretzky came with Michael Malkin. His name Michael. Yeah, Michael Milken. He was coming for the prostate cancer awareness day. Like what the big leaguers wear the blue eye black and the blue band
on Father's Day.
On Father's Day, yeah. So Wayne Gretzky came with his 2 sons one time, right when they were little. This is probably, I want to say it's 2004 in Cincinnati, so it'd be 17 years ago. And he came in and it was so nice. Wayne was such a nice guy. And I brought his kids into the cages. Like, hey, you guys want to hit a little bit? So we went in the cages. We hit. It was all fun. 3 days later, Shawnee, I get this Edmonton Oilers jersey sweater from the Great One saying, Shaun, thank you so much. You're hitting with my kids. Best wishes, Wayne Gretzky. I'm like, oh, man, so cool. One of the coolest things I have memorabilia is that Edmonton Oilers jersey that Gretzky sent me.
That's pretty cool. Now, you mentioned memorabilia. Are you a big memorabilia guy?
I am a big memorabilia guy. Yeah, it started with baseballs in '98, my rookie year. I was like, I would be holding guys on at first, and I'd be like, hey, I was thinking to myself, this is where my thinking was. I don't know how long I'm going to be here for. I need to see how many balls I can get, right? So I was literally like, hey, can you send a ball over if you don't mind? Yeah. I remember my rookie year, I collected 200 balls. And the funny thing about that is, at the end of the year, I went and looked at all the balls I had, and I realized I can't read these guys' names. It made me change my signature because I'm like, I got to make sure I write out Casey so that when I give it to people, they know who it is, because this is ridiculous. I'm in the big leagues, and I only know half the signatures.
That's the big difference with the old timers. They have a very legible signature. And yeah. I mean, I've had maybe 4 or 5 occasions in the years of Foley's where a guy has come in and pulled me to one side and said, dude, you got my baseball in upside down. I'm like, oh. I had Sadahara O's baseball in upside down, and this woman got all upset. And I'm like, look, I'm sorry, but my Japanese is rusty. I didn't. I know. I'm like, it's going this way.
Right.
The ball. I was like, so how many? So, what's your prized possession? I mean, obviously the graduate.
Wow, I got a lot of. I got 180 bats I collected over the years at first base. Same way. I got 180 bats. I think I have 400 balls. I'd say my prized possession. One night I was hanging out with Vetter back in 2013, and we were just hanging out at the Clementi Museum, Dwayne Reeder in my buddy Dwayne in Pittsburgh, and Pearl Jam was playing Friday night in Pittsburgh, and this is Tuesday night, and Ed was like, "Hey, what do you want to hear Friday night?" I'm like, and I start rattling off a couple songs, love to hear. My favorite song they sing is "Unemployable." So I was like, man, I'd love to hear Unemployable. You guys don't play that a lot, And so he's like, okay. So he pulled out a little pick. It was like a Pearl Jam pick, and he started writing in a Sharpie around all the songs that I had recommended. So I'm like, that's cool, blah, blah, blah. So Friday night when the show goes, Ed plays all the songs I had recommended. And then after the show, when I went backstage, he handed me the pick. He's like, hey, here's that pick I put on Tuesday night. So I put together like a Pearl Jam collage, but it's the smallest thing I probably have in my whole collection, but it's just the story behind it is what I like.
I mean, that's what Foley's was the story behind so many different pieces,
Yeah.
The funny thing was, you told me this, I don't know if it's still true, but I was like, I would love to have met Eddie Vedder. Now, I will say I'm not the biggest Pearl Jam fan. Daughter's my favorite song, but and I said, I'd love to get Eddie to sign a baseball. And you said, well, Pearl Jam won't sign a baseball. And you said because they had signed a baseball for Joey Ramone.
Yes, I think.
That's the only baseball they've ever signed as a team. That was it. The Joey Ramone, and then they were done.
That was it. I think it was Johnny Ramone. Yeah,
Johnny Ramone.
Johnny Ramone. And then they said the only one they all signed together was that one to Johnny Ramone. I think that's really cool.
That's a pretty good mic drop if you're going to do it. Okay,
Well, it's funny because Ed's a collector too, like of different things. So like he gets the collector mentality, which is kind of cool.
But I mean that's so.
Johnny, I want to know in Foley's, it was such a cool place. It was such a it was so cool to walk in there, but like you obviously had so much memorabilia. Like, what was your favorite in that whole place? Was there a piece that you were like, wow, that's my favorite piece?
It was so hard to do that. I mean, towards the end, because listen, when I got a baseball signed by Pope John Paul II, I mean,
Wait, did you get it?
No.
You bought it.
A friend of mine had it for years, and he knew how much. I mean, to me, it was. I mean, more than the Pope, more than Ruth or any of these guys. And so when he died, he left it to me, and he also left me the medal that Pope John Paul gave him.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, that's pretty special from that effect. But before that, people would say to me all the time, "Did I walk in here?" And they said, "What's so special?" And I mean, again, because there's so many stories, so many, tales of how they were gotten. In cases like, I swapped a Joe Girardi signed baseball for Marlon Chambers. and I happened to be on. He was with the Marlins at the time, and so the PR director had told him this. So I'm behind that. I'm with my kids too, so I'm like kind of hoping that it doesn't get brought up. And Joe comes over to me and says, "Hey, Shaun, can I talk to you for a minute?" I'm like, "Sure." He said, "Did you trade me?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "For Marlon Chambers?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "That might be the coolest thing that's happened in my career." Okay, I did have a couple. I mean, I had a Ron Jeremy signed ball. So Ron Jeremy, huge baseball fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, huge Mets. He's always at Citi Field. But people say it all the time, and I'm like, it would be hard to. And then I would say, look, I gotta be honest. I said, if I have to pick one, I said I had a baseball signed by my kids. And Emma came to me, she was 6, and Ryan was 9, and we had just started the whole baseball thing. And Emma said, "Daddy, can me and Ryan sign a baseball?" And I couldn't come up with one reason why they shouldn't. So they had their own baseball. So, like Joe McEwing, who we interviewed a couple of weeks ago, Joe was the first baseball. And actually, in fairness, the kids, I realized very quickly that if you go to games or you try to get baseball signed, you need one of 3 things. You need either like a really old person, so I would send my father. Really young people, I would send my kids, or big boobs. And mine, I didn't count. But I would always station myself next to the gal with the biggest boobs, on the field, because there's a fair chance they're going to come there.
They're coming over, yeah.
So I mean, I'll never forget. I felt really bad about this. So We were at a Tigers Rays game at the Trop. And so the kids are down there. So, what I would do is I tell them who I wanted to sign, And so Emma would write the numbers on her hand in Sharpie of the players.
Right.
And so we're down there anyway. And this guy comes over and he says, "Hi, little girl, would you like me to sign your ball?" And she's like, "What number are you?" And he told her, and she's like, "No, we don't want you."
Oh my gosh.
I was like, Emma, you need to be a little bit more. Said, "Thank you, I already have you." But Daddy, we don't want him. He's probably not any good. So I was like, okay, note to self, don't ever mess with Emma. So I was looking over your career last night, and obviously you were the 2007 friendliest player. Was there ever, like, obviously you were in the Reds organization with that, storied history, and they'd had some pretty big. Was there ever any of the older players that said, "Hey, why are you so nice to these opposing players? We're not supposed to be nice. Was that ever an issue?"
That's a great question, because that is something that when I first came up, I know that the fraternizing was just kind of starting. It was more okay to do it when I first came up in 1997, 98. And now it's like really no big deal, obviously. But yeah, I think I think none of the players said it to me. I remember Tony La Russa, when we would play the Cardinals, he was really big on guys not talking to us when we would run our sprints before the game. But I mean, I'm sure like Johnny Bench and those guys, I saw Johnny a lot. I'd see Tony Perez a lot. We would see, who else? George Foster and a lot of the old school Big Red Machine guys, but they never said anything to us about it. But I'm sure, obviously, that was a big deal back when they were playing. But I remember Tony La Russa, whenever we would play the Cardinals, he was still old school like that, like no fraternizing with the other team.
So what made me think about that was, there's a famous story about Moose Skowron got traded from the Yankees to the White Sox.
Right.
Eddie Stanky was his manager, and Eddie was a piece of work, which is kind of ironic. He was a piece of work, but he went to mass every morning, so that was maybe that he could be a piece of work the rest of the day. So they're playing the Yankees, and Stanky says, "I am going to fine any one of you guys $50 if I catch you talking to any of the Yankees." So, first inning, Mickey Mantle gets a single. He's on first, and he slaps Moose, and and he's talking to Moose, and Moose is staring down at the ground, and he's ignoring him completely. Mickey comes up the second time he walks back on first again, trying to get Moose, and just nothing's happening. So it's later in the game, and it's kind of like it's Mickey's last at bat, and Mickey hits a double, but he stops at first. And he says, "Moose, what the fuck?" He says, he says, you and your wife, you're my friends. And so he's looking down, he says, "Stanky says he's going to fine me $50 if I talk to you." And Mickey says, "All of the World Series shares I won for you? I spend $50 to say hello?" No. But it was yeah, because let's put it this way, not that he's ever wrong, but when Hal McCoy sings your praises, that's good enough for me. Hal is also another member of the Irish American Baseball Hall of Fame, and one of the class acts. And he's been through the ringer.
Yeah,
and I know that you and Aaron Boone played a big part in talking him out of not retiring when he retired. I mean, that was. And I thought Boone had, but it's one of my favorite Boone quotes. You don't get good Boone quotes now because he's with the Yankees and they have right. Age of 15 things that they have to say. But someone asked Boone about how it felt to have Hal McCoy back in the clubhouse. He says, "Yeah," he said, "but you got to keep an eye on him." He said, "So what do you mean?" He said, "Well, if you don't, you look up and you see these interviewing the Coke machine."
That's so great. So listen, Hal McCoy is one of the greatest ever, obviously, and just Hal's one of my favorite people. I got a chance to see him last year. I think I spoke at Mueller in Cincinnati for a stag or something. The Hal was there. It was just so great to see him. It's amazing too. My son goes to the University of Dayton, and Hal was obviously the Dayton Daily News. So just love Hal McCoy to death.
And his book was a great. I mean, it's it's pretty cool. I mean, I think it's his relationship with Joe Morgan. I think the late Joe Morgan. I think it's funny they had a falling out. Hal wrote the piece that said, it was the Reds needed to move on and trade him, and Joe got the hump, and they didn't speak for 25 years. They played tennis together. They were in the elevator together. They peed next to each other and never spoke until finally, just one day, just realized, hey, look, this shit's coming.
Life moves on. Jeez.
Listen, before we go, I want to just touch briefly on, so growing up, what did it mean to you to be Irish?
Well, I always loved, my heritage because my dad was so big on that, they had traced it back. I believe it was during the potato famine, two teenage Casey boys came over from County Cork, and I believe they were up in they came up in Vermont is where initially they came from, Ireland. And I just remember that story when I was younger, just being so proud that we were of Irish descent. My mom too, is her maiden name's McHugh, and her mom's maiden name was Gilmartin. So we have just a lot of Irish heritage in our family, and whenever we'd have family reunions, we all took a lot of pride in being from Ireland, and so it's always meant a lot to me, and it's always been a big part of our life.
Well, hopefully, I mean, there's several things that I hope to be able to do when, the dust settles and we move forward. I do hope at some point that you're wearing, an Ireland jersey with your name on the back, either as manager or first base coach.
Yes.
In some capacity. I mean, that is a dream, and that is a goal both John and I have, and we're working towards that. I do also hope that at some point we can go to Ireland.
Yes.
As your designated driver, I will do the driving and you can do the drinking and golfing and stuff like that, because there's several guys that said, hey, we want to go, and they said, look, we want to go, we want to help teach, and I'm like, yeah. I said, look, the first time we're going to go, all I'm going to do is teach you how to drink and teach you how to talk Irish, and give you a little taste of what life in Ireland is like.
Well, I went a few years ago. I went for my 40th birthday. It's where I wanted to go. We ended up going. We played Lahinch. We played Old Head. Old Head was unbelievable. It was like I literally was like, are we in heaven? Like literally, I was like, this is so beautiful to be out here in the water, and
clearly wasn't raining.
What?
It wasn't raining.
It was not raining. No, it was not raining. We were there for 7 days. It only rained one. I was like, oh my gosh. They knew we were coming. The Saints knew we were coming. So it was just an unbelievable trip, and it's so beautiful there. And gosh, I can't wait to go back.
So now you've played Lahinch, right? So Lahinch is kind of like basically like the Irish version of Pebble Beach.
Yes.
Right. So I know two different people who played Lahinch in like bad weather with the wind blowing in, where they have teed off and the ball has come back and hit somebody in their party.
Oh my gosh, you serious?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Happened with a buddy of mine. He got a new job with this Japanese company, and they brought all of the people in, and they were playing Lahinch, and he's in the same round as the CEO. He knocked out the CEO's translator, and the rest of the round, no one would talk to him, and even when they did, he had no idea what they were saying because the translator was gone to the hospital.
Oh my gosh, so great.
So listen, Shaun, this has been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I love watching you. Actually, I gotta be honest with you, I kind of listen to you more than I watch you, because you can kind of see, hold on if you can see this is Foley.
Is that Foley? What's up, Foley?
This is Foley.
So great.
So we walk a lot. We listen to a lot of the games, and I listen to the network. It's kind of funny actually to try and listen to you guys when you're doing the demonstrations.
Yeah.
I can kind of visualize what you're doing, but it's been a lot of fun. We do enjoy it. We appreciate your support of not only of the Irish American Baseball Hall of Fame, but also of the Irish American Baseball Society. And I see by your T-shirt, I didn't get to mention, I mean, you do wonderful work.
Yeah, well, your support, man, your support with the Casey Burger all those years of Foley's and sending us, 10% of the proceeds. Thank you, Shawnee, for real. Thank you for that, man, for all those years. Like, cannot thank you enough for doing that, man. I'm so grateful when you send those checks.
I can't wait till we get back to that, because so just tell the folks out there what that does. I mean,
yeah. So we started a Miracle League of the South Hills probably about 11 years ago now. It's crazy how time flies. We built a baseball field with a rubberized surface, which allows all kids to play and participate, especially kids in wheelchairs. So we serve over 350 kids with special needs, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, autism, the full spectrum. So like I said, we have 350 kids. It's just a wonderful, wonderful program. And we get started this Saturday is opening day. So I'm really excited about that. But Shaun and at Foley's, when we were there, when you had Foley's, what was the Shaun Casey burger, it had a little egg on it, which was delicious. I had so many people text me, hey, we're buying. I was like, hey, you're supporting the Miracle League of the South Hills. And you would always give us, proceeds, whatever the burger sold. So thanks so much, man. And those checks added up over the years, Shawnee, and you have really impacted a lot of kids in the Pittsburgh area that you don't even know about.
I mean, that's what, to me, that's what Foley's all about. That's what I miss. People ask me, I miss the people, and I miss being able to help the people. That's the two things that I miss, and we'll get back to it at some point. We just got to
what's the next stay? What are you planning on doing?
Right now, we just got to wait to see. I mean, as you know, I mean, the dust is just settling. We just got to wait for the dust to settle to see where we're going to go. The memorabilia is all in storage, and it's going to go somewhere.
Okay.
And there's going to be a Foley's of some description, and there's going to be charitable items on the menu. That's where we want to get back. I mean, ideally, I'd love to put it into a ballpark.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
The main reason why I'd love to put it in the ballpark is I only have to work 81 days a year. So I can spend. I've gotten kind of used to Florida living. It's just. It's like I said, I do all these Zoom meetings. I put on these fancy tops, but the only time I put on long pants is to go to work. So we will do something. So listen, again, thank you very much. Say hello to all my friends because every time I look up, there's another guy on set, and I was like, oh, wow, that's another friend of Foley's. Actually, I see yonder Alonso. There's another guy who likes to talk to people. Another good guy.
Yes, Yonder's a great guy. Yeah, they just hired him. I was just on last night with Chris Young. They just hired Chris Young. It was his first show last night, and he was awesome. Really awesome.
Which Chris Young?
The outfielder Chris,
outfielder.
Not the tall pitcher.
Yeah, or the hitting coach for the former hitting. No, I think he's the hitting coach, the pitching coach now with the Cubs. So well, listen again, Shaun. Thank you very much for this. We appreciate it.
All right, Shawnee. You got it, man.
I look forward to getting together with you soon. Okay.
Okay, brother. Tell John thanks, and I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, one day that dream will come true. It'll be a dream will come true of mine too, to wear the manager jersey for the Irish team.
Listen. There's nothing. I just hope. I want to be there. I mean, maybe someone will let me hand you the jersey. But I'd have to figure out what number you want. Probably going to be 3, could be 6, could be.
You can be my bench coach.
Hey, listen. Look. All I want is that I'm wearing one of those jerseys, not in any capacity. I've always said the only two I wouldn't mind being the bench coach or the bullpen catcher.
You'd last one inning as the bullpen catcher.
But you got to remember the bullpen catcher. I mean, if I let the ball go away, no harm, no foul. But I get to travel with the team. I always used to say I want to be the bullpen catcher or. What's his name? Jack O'Connell, who called you, tells you got in the Hall of Fame. But I mean, bullpen catcher. I'm traveling on the charter. I'm hanging out with ball players, so there's those girls around there. I'm like, I'm with them, they don't need to know that I don't make the same money that they make. So I was like, no, and what pressure? I mean, yes, they do get beat up, but I'm like, hey, if one of the pitchers gets away, I'm like,
it's no big deal. It's no big deal, yeah.
No fun. All right, buddy. Again.
Okay, brother. Okay, man. Great seeing you, Shawnee. I'll see you soon, man. Let me know what's going on. I want to come to the new Foley's, wherever it is.
Trust me, you'll be the first guy invited.
Okay, brother. Take care. Thanks. See you, John. Okay. See you, man. See you, Johnny. See you, Johnny.